I'm Wendy Gordon. I am the president of the Westlake Village Art Guild. And I am really excited today to have Beverly Lazor here with us today. She's a dear friend and a neighbor and a fellow artist at the Westlake Village Art Guild and TOAA. And we'd love to have her get to see her studio. So welcome, Beverly.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. Well, welcome to my studio, which I actually cleaned last night for you guys. So let's see, I'll talk a little bit about myself. Right now I live in Santa Rosa Valley, just below Wendy, basically, and down the street from your lawn. So it's great. We've got our own little artist community right here. I've lived here about 4 years. Before that, I lived in the San Fernando Valley. Let's see, I started out years and years ago. In the 80s, I graduated from Art Center College of Design. So, and when I went to art school, I signed up to be an illustrator only because it had all the drawing and painting classes. And that's what I really wanted to do, was draw and paint. I had no idea what illustration was or anything about it. And even going through school, I wasn't quite sure what an illustrator was. I just knew I wanted to take drawing and painting classes. The school was extremely tough. It's one of those schools where you leave school and you doubt yourself every day. And go home and cry, women and men, everybody, we all did, And I went there after a couple of years of college first. I went to a couple of years of college at Cal State Northridge, took evening classes at Art Center, and then applied to Art Center and didn't tell anybody because I was afraid I wouldn't get in. And I got in. So I was like, everyone's like, you applied? Because I was so afraid of being rejected. Anyway, so I went 4 years to Art Center then after that. After Art Center, I ended up coming out and I got a job as an illustrator. I had my own business and I started doing work for, I worked basically for the last, 37 years as an illustrator off and on. So I think it's influenced my paintings a lot because being an illustrator, you're asked to do lots of different things. You never seem to do one complete style, at least what I fell into. I would do stuff for the movie industry. I did props, I did character design. Back then, licensing was really important and just coming out. So I did a lot of license projects, did all the American Tail animation propaganda that came out, all the two-dimensional things, all the stuff for Land Before Time, storybooks, t-shirts, toys, designed all that kind of stuff. Then I did some other children's books. I designed fabric for a company. I designed plush for teddy bears for companies. So it was a wide range of, I was always doing something. I did Neil Diamond album covers. I did typesetting. It was just, anybody who asked me could I do this? I'd say, sure. And I'd figure out how to do it. So I think when it comes to oil painting, I don't really have a set genre that I do because I bounce around because I'm so used to doing that for the last 30 some years of someone saying, hey, can you draw Chucky? I did stuff for Chucky, Child's Play. Can you draw this, doll that's terrorizing people? And it's like, oh, sure. So, and then I'll get tired of that. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to draw a cute little whatever, cute little baby. So I bounce all around. So that kind of, you'll see, I don't do one particular thing. Let's see, what else should I talk about? Oh, so after being an illustrator for so long, I would go to workshops a lot. And I really enjoyed going to workshops. It got me away from being a lone artist at home, which was really monotonous at times. It's very lonely. And I had a set group of girlfriends that we would always talk on the phone, and we try to get together once a month, other artists, but it was hard depending on our schedules. So I was actually offered a job to teach online classes when online classes first started out way back, like in, I don't know, it was 05 or 07, something like that. So it was through the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I started teaching online classes, drawing and painting classes, and writing classes for them. And that turned into a full-time job. So I was still full-time faculty for the Academy of Art in San Francisco. And so I've written a bunch of their classes, and their classes are almost like, they're like reading a book. So each week a new module would open up, and it has images, it has text, you read it, you watch the demos, and you do the assignment. And then as the teacher, we go in and we critique it and comment and interact that way. And we have students from all around the world, which is kind of fun. So I've had students, you know, Asia, India, you know, you name it, all over. So you get to learn a lot about other countries and other places, as well as students that are here. And there's a lot of people that are parents and can't just pack up and go to art school because they've got kids. So there's a lot of that too in the school. So that's been really inspirational to me, just to meet other people and what their lifestyles are like and that kind of thing. So I'm still doing that, which I love doing. It's been a lot of fun, and but it's a lot of fun, a lot of work, and it keeps me from my painting though. So it's like I talk about painting, but I don't get to paint. So, you know, I do want to just spend more time painting. Let's see. Wendy, do you have any questions as I'm going through?
No, you're doing fabulous.
Okay. I've got a couple samples of my illustration work just to show you guys. So, you know, this is like, you know, adorable Chucky. But I actually designed all the cute stuff for Child's Play. So for I'm sorry, for the Child's Play movies. And I did all the boxes and stuff that the cute doll came in. And I actually got screen credit for that, which was kind of fun because usually you don't do that. So they had to pull a lot of strings to get me screen credit on that. But it was fun to do. Here's another thing that I've done for movie industry. I just have two of them here. So this was, I don't know if you can see it really well. This was for Page Master. It's another movie that kind of was, Macaulay Culkin was in it. It was a young boy. He went into a museum, into a library, and I don't know if he fell asleep or what. His head hit him on the head, but he ends up he becomes animated, and the books come to life. And it's a really cute. It's not a terror. It's very cute.
So what was your picture for? Was it in the movie or was it a advertisement?
That actually, they had asked me to do a children's book.
Oh.
So it was supposed to be for a children's book, and Turner Broadcasting has taken over Hanna-Barbera, and the guy David Kirshner, who created Page Master, was the head of Hanna-Barbera, and they asked me if I wanted to do a book, and they wanted this book, and they wanted it to look like Michael Haig, who was a famous children's book illustrator back in that time period, like in the early, I guess it was the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, watercolor and inking drawings. Anyways, so they asked if I would do a sample. So I did a sample, and it's basically, you know, they liked the sample, they loved it. But when they gave me the timeline to the book, I was so bummed because basically they wanted this book to be, I had 6 months to do it, which is amazing. You never get 6 months to do a book for the movie industry, you know. But they also wanted so many paintings and of the same quality that what I had shown them. That painting took me a week from start to finish. And I actually started with an artist's sketch. They had a rough sketch of what they wanted. And it took me a week to do it, to draw it up. When I plotted out the time frame, it was gonna take me 6 months to the day, a week of painting, a painting a week. That means I couldn't be sick. I couldn't do anything else. I'd lose all my other clients. So unfortunately, I had to turn down that job. So I got the painting, but I didn't get to do the book. In the long run, they ended up hiring 3 different illustrators to do the book, and it's 3 different styles. I'm not really big on it. I wish they had just cut the number of pages down or given more time. It's just, you know, it's an entertainment industry thing. They wanted it out at a certain date, and so, but that happens often. So yeah, I was really bummed, but it's like there's just no way possible I could have met that deadline. You can't work 6 months straight and not.
No.
It's just not realistic. So, and you know, the producer understood that completely. He was totally, I get it, you know, and I just had a child too at the time. It was something ridiculous. And I'm like, it's just not gonna work.
Too much.
Yeah, anyways. So,
so hey, I have a question for you. If you've done a bunch of workshops, who would you say was the top 2 or 3 or something that we should all watch out for if there's a chance?
Yes, I love going to Craig Nelson's workshops. Craig Nelson was an illustrator, and he was also, well, he was a big time illustrator and a teacher of mine at Art Center. And since then, he took over the Academy of Arts Fine Art department. So he's my boss. So by going to his workshops, now I work for him and his wife. He's the director of the fine art department, and then his wife is the director of the online fine art department, which I work for. So it's great. I used to go to a lot of their workshops. In fact, I still do. And I just talked to him yesterday, and he's tentatively having a workshop in January in Santa Barbara, a plein air painting workshop, which I'm hoping, I told him I'll get a lot of people to come to it. He's a great teacher. He's very, he knows everything, and he's very mellow and a great teacher. And I've learned so much from him. I've also taken his workshops in Europe. So when I turned 50, 10 years ago, I know, I decided to treat myself, and I wanted to go to one of his workshops in Europe. And I decided, you know what, I had gone through a divorce, I had saved money, and I'm like, well, you know what, I'm going to treat myself. My kids can be watched by my ex. You know, they were in high school at the time. I'm like, now's the time to do it, otherwise I'll never do it. So I went with them to France and painted for 2 weeks in France and fell in love with plein air painting overseas. And I try to go every year now with them if I can. I haven't yet gone every year, but I've gone quite a few times, probably maybe 7 times since then. Yeah, in the last 10 years. So it's like every once in a while I'll miss a year, but I love going to their workshops. It's just, there's something so magical about being with other artists somewhere and painting and spending, 2 solid weeks with other artists and just feeding off of their creativity. It's magical. And traveling with other artists, I mean, it's great traveling with family, but going with other artists, they see things that family members don't see or don't want to see, and my husband usually goes with us. But he, in the beginning, he was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Well, he wanders around and comes back and forth. But now he's gotten, so he's like, oh, look at those shadows and look at this. And the other artists, not just me, but the other artists are going, look at that reflected light. And they're explaining to him things. So now he's all into it. So it's really cute. So he loves going just because of the camaraderie of the artists. And artists are really good people, and we all want to help each other. Yeah. So that's been a really wonderful experience. And unfortunately, of course, we couldn't do it this year. But yeah, so he does that every year. He and his wife plan a trip. And there's about 12 of us or so that sign up and go. And we travel all around. Last year last year we went to Sicily, which was fantastic. We were two weeks in Sicily painting, and it's magical. It
sounds heavenly.
Yeah, well, you went to a workshop overseas too, but it's like, it's just, you can't express how much fun it is. But just going to workshops with other people, it's a great way to meet other artists. It's a great way to get connections, to find out other mediums, others, what your substrate is you're painting on, paintbrushes that are good. It's just, we all speak a different language than our family members, and it's or other girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever we have. Yeah. So it's nice to be with other artists because we get excited about this kind of stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Now another question. What is your awe moment in painting? Have you learned something that you thought, oh, I wish I knew this years ago? Or, oh, I wish I used this kind of paint when I first started, or something? And
yeah, when they asked me at the Academy of Art to start teaching classes for them, I had to think about, it was oil painting classes. It was a still life oil painting class. They wanted me to write an advanced level 1. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to think. Because I've been painting with gouache and acrylic as an illustrator. So I had to really sit down and get back to my college days and think about, how do I paint oil? I would only paint oil when I went to workshops. And I was constantly going to workshops, Craig's workshops that he had like twice a year. So he knew my work. But then I'd put them away and do my freelance the rest of the year. So, the biggest thing I think with oil painting, I'm realizing that I did, and well, as a lot of other students do, is they thin their paint too much. Yeah. They get really, it's transparent almost. They're treating it like a watercolor. They're not putting enough paint on. And I think it's getting that good consistency. And once I finally figured out to get that nice consistency where your paintbrush isn't too wet,
Mhm.
that's when it's fun. And that's when you
Mhm.
can move your paint around. So it's almost like, don't dip your paint in your Gamsol or your Turpenoid, whatever you're using, and then mix it so much into your, well, you can do it and mix into your paint so it gets creamy, but then dry your paintbrush off and then dip it into the paint. So it's just drier. And you can lay it on your canvas and then lay your next color next to it and you can move it around. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you get this mushiness that a lot of beginners get and they get frustrated and they're like, my painting's never dry. Well, it's because they're too wet, you know?
Yeah.
So my absolute awe moment for when I thought, this is what I truly want to do, was when we were painting that first time in Paris. I was down below the Notre Dame and I was on the water there and I just was painting. And, you know, you're just sitting there painting. And when you paint, you get into this zone. And
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself, oh my God, you know, Monet was here, you know, Degas, you know, all these people that I admired, had all been here, maybe along the same stretch of the river and painted just like what I was doing. And even just now I get the tingles. And
I know,
it's,
I got the
you know,
goosebumps.
and I'm like, going, oh my God, I'm an artist. You know, I mean, it was really silly, but and then just by chance, some little old man came walking by and he goes, can I take your picture? And I'm like, sure. You know, he's speaking French and I'm kind of like, and I go, sure. And I gave him my business card. I go, can you send me a picture? You know, anyways, I didn't know it. He was a photographer and he was this French photographer and he sent me his link to his site. And he actually has this beautiful picture that he took of me, just the back of me painting and, you know, Notre Dame's in the background. And I have it on my Facebook page and it's hard to get rid of it because that was like my moment where it's like, this is what I truly want to do. This is where I truly have peace and happiness and I feel content and there's no other world around me.
Yeah.
You know, all those problems of kids and stuff doesn't exist. Um, you know, and the paintings, it wasn't anything that great, but it was doing the painting. It was
Mhm.
actually getting to do it. It just, it made me realize this is, have you ever gone somewhere and you just feel like you're grounded there? You know,
Mhm.
it's, whenever I go to Florence, Italy, I swear I've been there before in another life or something. I just go there and I just sit and there's this, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know. It's just there's something about it, and every time I leave there, I have to go to the Duomo and say goodbye, and I'll be back. And it's kind of
By
silly.
my friends.
Yeah, it's just something about it. I don't know. You know, it just there's this grounding. There's this. I've been here before. This is where I should be.
Yeah.
So
Now, as a plein air painter, how do you get over people walking up to you when you're in that horrible stage of your painting where nothing's quite working yet, you're still lopping and moving things around, and as soon as I see people walking over towards me, it's like, quick, wipe it out so they don't see this horrible stage. Do you finally just get to a point where you're comfortable and
you know,
doesn't bother you?
yeah, because everybody that comes up will say, "Oh, my aunt paints. Oh, my daughter paints. Oh, my this paints." You know, and you start to realize they just want to talk. They just want to be friendly, and um, they're not really there to critique you. I did have someone critique me once in French. I don't know what she was saying, but I was painting another part of the Notre Dame, and she was telling me I was painting it wrong. I think because she kept pointing to it and looking at my painting, and I'm like, going, you know? So it was kind of weird. But I've met some wonderful people. You know, people that will all of a sudden, you know, can I take your picture? And then, especially over in Europe, Europe people love art and they treat you like a god. And
Yeah.
that's when I think where I finally became comfortable doing it because they would come up to you and be like, oh, can I watch? You know, and it's like, you know, oh, Bella, Bella. They just say, you know, a couple words, which you could understand, you
Yeah.
know. And so then when I'm painting here, I understand people just want to see. They don't want to, they're not really there to criticize. And you know what? I think there's something about art that it's so soothing to process and it's so grounding that I wish more kids were able to do it. That's why I am hoping to get my garage. I have a 3-car garage that, well, basically 2-car garage because one part is a wine cellar, but 2-car garage, and we're making it into a studio, which I'm hoping to have classes because I miss that. I want to have kids come over and paint someday when we can, or other women or people, and just have a glass of wine and paint at night, and have classes. I think it's something that we all enjoy as artists and need.
Yeah.
And it just it helps our excitement, and it fuels us, and it helps us grow. So I don't really mind when people come up and talk. It's hard when they talk too much.
Yes.
And then you can't get back to
Distracting.
that's the hard part, is trying to say, you have to almost kind of talk to them and keep painting so they get the hint. If you turn around and start talking to them, you've lost your train of thought, and then it's hard to get back into your
Yeah.
work.
That's so true. Now, do you have one painting that you can tell us a little bit about? Something that you're in, I'm looking at all your gorgeous paintings behind you. Anything that has a story to it?
Well, this one right here, I'm working on it. It's I actually did one already like this. I did a smaller one, and this was from a photograph I took when I was in Italy, and I was just walking around this beautiful church, and I saw these two priests, and they were just the place. You go into a church, it's got that feeling. It just, no matter what religion you are, it just, you feel there's a presence. You know, so anyways, I was very quiet. I was just walking kind of behind them, and I snapped their picture, a couple pictures of them walking, and they weren't talking a whole lot, but they were just, admiring and kind of pointing, and it did something to me so I wanted to paint this. So I did paint a picture, a smaller one like this, and it sold right away. I had all these people asking for it. So then someone just asked me, would I paint another one larger? So I'm in the process of painting it this size for as a commission for someone else. And I'm realizing I'm trying to put more people into my pictures now, because for a long time, I was doing more like this. And I still like painting this way. This is what I'll paint like on Plein Air things, where you're outside, you don't really put people in it. But I think I need to start putting some people in my pictures, just for bringing that human touch in. I'll often throw a cat or something in there, but I'm kind of, right now in my career, I think I need to get some people in. I'm getting more attention when I put people in them. People are drawn to them a little bit more. So that's what I'm kind of finding.
And I find that even better, the way you have it is from the back. We know they're priests, and we don't have to know. I was told in the beginning that if you do figurative work with a face, people don't want it as much, because it's not their kid or their husband, or it's, who is that person? So if it's from the back, they're more drawn to feel like, oh, it kind of looks like my dad and his brother walking along. And
I totally agree. In fact, I just sold a painting last night from the California Art Club. I'm their chapter chair for Malibu Ventura County. Anyways, I had a painting in their virtual art show, and it just sold. I just found it last night, and it's a little girl running on the beach, but you can't see her. I mean, she's this tiny, and she's this small running on the beach, and it's her reflection in the sand and stuff at Leo Carril. And she's not the focus. The landscape's the focus, but she's in the environment. And I think, so I'm starting to realize maybe that's a good thing to put, but it's hard when you're plein air painting, because you can't really put people in often. It's they're moving too much, unless you just put a suggestion of somebody in there.
Well, the other option is just take tons of reference pictures, and then later pop in some cute whatever you want to pop in that works with your picture. And but the scale is tricky. It's tough to get it. So
and I truly think sometimes my plein air paintings are better, because there's a certain energy. It's like that same thing I was saying when I was painting in Paris. It's that tingling you get when you get into that moment, in that zone, and you see colors and you feel things, and then you're like, oh, I don't want that area. You paint that area out. It's easier to do that on location, I'm finding, than from a photograph. Because from a photograph, you get caught up sometimes painting what you see instead of what you feel. And I really think when I put my feelings into my paintings, they show and they come up better.
Well, I don't know. That picture with the church is absolutely exquisite. So it's,
and I've got a couple other images of churches just with paintings and people talking about the paintings that I'm hoping to do too in the future. Just because I love architecture too. And I
Yeah.
love the way the light lands on architecture and the shadows that it creates. And, but then after I do a few churches, then I'll get tired and I'll do, I don't know, something else.
Something
I'll do
else.
some still lifes. I kind of bounce around. So I do have to focus, I think, a little bit more and create a genre, but I don't know. I'm enjoying myself, and I'm not really in this as to sell, sell, sell. I want to sell because I don't want to be my own best collector. So I keep my prices reasonable. I don't go outrageous. And that's another thing I try to tell my students. It's like, some students, when they notice their stuff selling, they'll right away raise their prices. Um, that's good, but you're also limiting your clients. And my paintings, a lot of them are plein air, so they're done in 2 hours. They're kind of quick. It might only take 2 hours, but it's 30, 40 years of painting,
Yeah.
behind those 2 hours. So people are like, oh, I'm going to pay this for 2 hours worth of work, and they don't want to do that, but they don't understand that it's taken you to this many years to get to this level where you can make the proper choices quicker than I would have done it 10 years ago,
Exactly.
but I try keeping the prices reasonable so they sell, because that's my whole game plan, is to sell them and paint more. I don't want to I don't want to become a hermit among my canvases.
Great idea. That's a
So
great idea.
I don't know. It's hard because I think all artists get embarrassed about what to price their paintings at. But the thing is, once you start pricing them at a certain level, like I won't name the name, but I've got an artist that I really love her work, but she does these little small ones and charges $900. Well, they're fantastic. They're beautiful. And she's got a name for herself. And I guess she's getting that. Because I actually looked up buying one, and I'm like, well, I don't want to spend $900 on a little painting. So her big ones have got to be more. Well, all of a sudden, if she decides her paintings aren't selling and she starts doing bigger paintings and sells them for, say, 500, well, those people that have purchased little ones for 900 are going to be pretty darn mad.
Yeah.
And so you can't just do that. So you have to you want to find your sweet spot in pricing, where you're not too high, but you've got an audience that wants to buy. And, maybe if you're in the realm of some of these guys that are fantastic, some of these guys can get 10,000 a painting. I can't. And, I'd rather do lots of little ones than sell them. It's just, yeah. So it's challenging finding who your audience is, because you want to sell your work,
Yes.
and it's not pricing them too high or out of your buyer's range,
Right,
so.
exactly. Well, Bev, let's see if anyone wants to ask Beverly some questions. I will, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can turn your cameras on. Let's see. Bev, can you still hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
good. All of a sudden it got so quiet. Everybody's trying to figure out their buttons, I think.
I have a question, if I could.
Sure.
I worked with a gallery, and I think with gallery we were selling at like $3 a square inch, and I was getting $1.50 a square inch. Do you sell per size, and what's your square inch price?
I have no idea what the square inch price is. I just, you know what? Yes, I sell through a gallery. I have a gallery up in Napa. It's in Yountville. It's Jessup Cellars, and thank goodness it hasn't burned in any of the fires. So, but I like I said, I keep the prices reasonable, and I try going, 400 or 500 around this size. This size about 1,200, 1,400. It just kind of depends. It depends on how complicated. And usually in the end, I find out maybe I've underpriced myself. But that's the hardest part, is finding a price. And I'm finding too, it's like, depending on what you're painting, I think your price can vary too, because okay, every January I try doing the Strada Easel challenge, the 30-day challenge, because I think it's a great way in January to start off the year. So you paint a painting a day. Well, those paintings, they're rushed because you only have so many hours a day. So those I usually sell, I'm doing them this big or whatever, and I'll sell those for $200, just unframed, out the door, and they sell. because they're quick, whatever, and people, it's an inexpensive price for people to buy. So, and I don't frame, I don't have to hassle anything. But if I actually went and spent more time on them and framed them and whatnot, I would of course charge a lot more. The frames are expensive, as you guys all know. So that has to add up. If you're putting it into a gallery, you got to account for the gallery getting a half of your money. You know, so think about this. I'm selling these little ones for $200 just out the door. If I put them in a gallery and frame them, I might be charging. I'd have to charge them $400 plus the cost of the frame to make the 200. So it's not, 200 sounds like nothing to us, but it's $200 instantly, or, you know, without having to go through the middleman. So it's challenging. It's really hard to find pricing, I think. It really is.
Do you only sell through a gallery, or do you also have an online gallery?
You know, no, I have a website which people contact me through sometimes, and I'm noticing Instagram and Facebook seem to be I'm getting people contacting me through them, which is really remarkable. So I have my Facebook linked to my Instagram, and I try to post, and I really should be going out and getting more galleries. I just have been too busy teaching, and I want to get a gallery down here because, you know, Napa wants paintings of Napa, because that's their clientele out there, and that's great. But I want to do things around here too. So, and ocean things, and so I'll put them in shows and stuff. And they usually sell. Often they'll sell a show, but I need to get a gallery down here. I think also that's it would just be good to, you know, like I'll sell like at Santa Paula Art Museum and those type of things. But those are like, you know, once or twice a year only. So I need some more. Yeah, I do have an Etsy account, and it's like a side business I do. One thing I learned from being a freelance artist, I have a lot of different businesses. So like I would do, you know, stuff for the movie industry, and then I would do stuff for, you know, tabletop. I would design teapots for someone else. Then I designed fabric for someone else, and someone else wanted, you know, teddy bears designed. So I've kind of learned you keep your hand in all different aspects of art. So my husband is a retired fire captain. So I started painting paintings like this, you know, just for fun. And I sold a bunch of them. And then I decided, you know what, I was going to have an Etsy store. So I have an Etsy store called Beverly Lazor Art. And basically all it is I have a series of my firefighter helmets printed as giclées. And I print them up on canvas like this. And I just change the shield right here, personalize it to the artist. And I keep the prices really low because these are not art collectors. I usually don't even talk about them with my fine art people, but these are like people that want a gift for retired firemen or a Christmas gift, or firemen collect toys. They always have millions of fire trucks and the wives are going nuts because they have all these fire things and, you know, and tacky fire stuff. So the wives often contact me and say, yes, finally I could put something over my mantle. So I'll do paintings like that and keep them really reasonable. And so I've got that business also. So, you know, I don't make a lot of money on those, but that also keeps me going. So it's like, it's nice to find other businesses too. I think to just keep yourself active and going, you know. So it's, you know, I haven't really, maybe I should sit down someday and just pursue fine art, but I'm still that illustrator mindset where you have everything going.
No, well, you do a good job keeping it all together.
Well, I have a question. Do you do primarily plein air?
That's what I truly love, but no, I do everything. So like the 30-day challenge, that thing, I pretty much do still lifes, and they're set up here in my office. And what I'll do is I have this little table here. It's kind of like a little dresser, and I kind of hid my junk here, but I'll throw a still life down there and I can paint from it, or I'll set a still life up here. And usually when I do still lifes, I've got a great north window. This is my dining room actually right now, but I've got a great north window right here. So to control my light source, I'll put a big box right here. So I've got, you know, a back wall, a top plane, and side planes. And then I'll put my still life setup inside of there, because you need to control your light source. And that's what I'm finding a lot of students that I have, they weren't controlling their light source, because you know, the light coming in from the window is going to change your lighting when it's nighttime. So that's going to change all your colors and whatnot. So I love this little thing. I took it out of my son's room when he didn't want it anymore. And I'm like, great, it works wonderful. And I just kind of push it all around. But having different size boxes to put your still lifes in, I think is a great idea, just because you can control the light source. So yeah, I do a lot of different things. I've also, I mean, I do pastels. I've painted in, I sculpt. I met Wendy in a sculpting class. So I've been doing that lately for fun. And when I started sculpting years ago, not doing anything with it, but I just was taking sculpting classes, and I noticed immediately that my paintings improved. Because with sculpting, you have to think in terms of planes and three-dimensionality. So, you know, you're painting a painting and you see that you think that's one plane. Well, if you're sculpting and you deal with this one plane, you forget about the side views. So by the time you turn the side view, that's all wrong. So when I started to sculpt and really think about all the planes, my paintings improved. Because you need that mindset for doing still lifes, for doing trees even. You need to think about it three-dimensionally. How's that light landing on that tree shape? You know, is it a Christmas tree shape or is it a round shape? Either way, the light's going to land on only certain branches. So that was really important and a great, it was a great stepping stone for me, because I definitely noticed a big difference taking sculpting classes. So I can't wait as they're sculpting classes again.
This has been wonderful listening to you, and you're the real deal. And you seem to know about a little, you know about everything with art, and I've enjoyed it.
Oh, good, good. Well, I hope to someday have classes too, just because I want to have people around. You know? And you know, and I do, you know, I belong to the California Art Club. I'm their chapter chair for Malibu, Ventura County. And normally we go out once a month and plein air paint, and it's free. So it's like, you don't have to even be a member of the California Art Club. It's just, you know, I have a list of people, I just send out a thing, and it's usually Saturday mornings, the third Saturday of the month. So I can't wait to get doing that again, because and I did it because I wanted to get back out in plein air painting. And that's why I took this job over as being the chapter chair, because it forces me to paint at least once a month. And you really see things differently when you are painting outside. Colors are so much better. Photographs, you know, they get washed out. The darks go just dark. You know, they're fine to work from, but being there is everything. It's it really, there's something, you know, even if you just work on it at home, take photos, and then come back, or work on it outside, take photos, and then come home and work again. You have that, you've got that sense of what you're trying to capture. So
Definitely.
I love that, Beverly. I agree with you totally.
Yeah.
I belong to the California Art Club, but I've only been able to go out painting with the group once, and that was at the Ventura Pier. And then I couldn't find anyone. I didn't know where they were. I walked all over the beach and found some other painters, but I never found the main group. But that's okay. And I just love going out plein air painting. But my major group that I paint with is the Allied Artists of the Santa Monica Mountains and Seashore. And but they're the ones that actually got me started with plein air painting. And I just love it. I think you're absolutely right that it makes you see light differently than if you just work from photographs.
Yeah, and you know what? I try to belong to different groups, because I'm finding I can't always make it a certain weekend somewhere else. So I'll go like to your paint outs that you guys have, or you know, I was hoping to go to the TOAA's painting last month or a couple weeks ago, but I was kind of quarantining because I might have been exposed to Corona. So, you know, I was waiting to see if I was, and I wasn't. But, you know, it's nice to have these different things, because you do meet other artists and they all have other contacts, and they'll, you know, it is really good, because you'll find different paints that you watch them and see what color do they start on with their canvas? You know, what colors do they use? What paintbrushes are they using? Are they using a medium? You know, all these different things that you can learn from other people. It's, you know, even like when I go plein air painting, you know, I'll paint, and I paint on this. I paint on canvas. I paint on, it's actually linen. and I tape it to my boards. And this is what I do when I go to, oops, it's like this actually, when I go to Europe and stuff, because you don't want to carry canvases around. So I'm carrying these small canvases instead, you know, and I just tape them onto one board. So, and then I can put them into a suitcase, and I don't have a ton of, take up a lot of space. So it's like, you learn all these tricks from other people. And that's what's really important, I think, is to just learn. You know,
So I want to ask you a question about those canvases that you paint on in Europe. How do you make sure they're dry before you pack them away?
they all dry. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, I guess I'm not using that much medium, or I let them dry basically. We sit them out in the sun. I
Okay.
take them off, lay them out in the sun of wherever I'm at, or on the floor of the hotel room, and they all dry. If one hasn't dried, then what I'll do is I'll put them in one of those boxes. I always carry one of those wet paint boxes, and I'll
Okay.
put those in, you know, the one or two that haven't dried in there. But they pretty much all dry.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's kind of nice. And I love using I'm gonna show you guys this. It's a linen canvas by Centurion, and it comes in a pad, and that's the material I use. And I think you know, professional pads, they're really wonderful, and I just tint them with like house paint. You know, they're already primed, and I tint them usually with a creamy, like a banana yellow, because I like using the banana yellow color. It kind of mimics light, and it's not too dark. I found if I paint on a darker color ground, I have a harder time getting that light, airy feeling. So I like this light coming, the banana yellow or Naples yellow coming through. So it just kind of worked for me. Everybody has a different thing, you know. You got to figure out what works for you. That's one thing I try to tell my students. It's like, you know, every teacher's got a different way of setting up their palette. Find a way that works for you and stick to that. Stick to the colors that you like. You know, I've got this stuff I love. This is Gamblin solvent-free gel. I think it's fantastic. It doesn't smell. I think it's like $12 a tube, and it, you know, it's just basically, instead of using liquid, I use this, and it's got a really nice creaminess to it. So wait one second.
Hey, Bev, I've got to run. I'm going to leave Helene in charge of you guys.
Okay.
I've got to get over to see me, and now it's only 20 minutes, so I better hurry.
Can you just leave your computer on? I'm sure it'll just turn off. That way the recording doesn't stop.
Okay, I'll just leave it on here. And then thank you a million, zillion, trillion times. We so loved it. And I will see you this afternoon hanging.
Yes.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, Wendy.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, go ahead.
I've got to run too. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I've got an appointment. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, maybe we should just end it if that's it.
If
And
there's no other questions, yeah, this has been fun. So, and you know, I hope to see you guys all painting someday in person.
I want to go back and paint with you. I miss you so much.
Yeah, well, hopefully in January, if Craig does his workshop, it'll be in Santa Barbara, Plein Air painting. So I'll post the information once he gets it. And it's,
You know, let me know. I haven't seen him since he was my teacher at Art Center.
well, and what was nice, Yolanda and I went, when was it, August? He had a Plein Air painting workshop up in Tahoe.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
we were all like secluded, but it was giant canvases. He made us do.
Yeah.
In fact, that's my painting.
Show them your one.
That one, yeah, that's the one, the big one. So it's like, I don't know how big that is, 3 feet by 3 feet. And we had to do those Plein Air painting, and that was a challenge because usually I paint smaller Plein Air. So he gave us all these giant canvases, and we had to keep going back to the same location and painting. And that was a really fun exercise. I mean, It was hard.
Yeah.
And we belly ached a bunch, but we learned.
Yeah, we did.
That's what's good about going to workshops. It forces you to do something different that you're not used to and get out of your comfort zone. Yeah, so I'll let you guys know if he does his workshop, because it's fun to just be out and meet other people, and you know, and Santa Barbara's not that far away, so that's kind of nice. So.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
And thank you guys for coming.
Yep. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.